Okay, let's conclude this chapter with last bits. Access to maternal and childcare, reproductive health services, safe water and sanitation systems, and adequate safe food. There is a need for additional investment and planning to address the new challenges posed by climate change to health and nutrition-related issues, according to the World Health Organization report. Maternal and child health care need to be implemented successfully and provide universal health coverage and access, including access to reproductive health services and family planning. Important actions for minimizing maternal and child health and nutrition impacts from climate change include these following items: strengthening public health systems and basic clinical care systems, including the availability of essential drugs; enhancing local capacities to address public health emergencies; strengthening surveillance systems of infectious diseases; improving the use of early warning systems by the health sector. And the next item here is empowerment and social participation within climate resilient and nutrition sensitive community-based development. Okay, empowerment and social participation of women and other vulnerable groups is necessary throughout the decision-making, planning, and implementing processes. Investment for community food and nutrition security should target strengthened legal rights and equal access to resources, including land for both women and men. Support responsive institutions grounded in the local context. Expand and improve education and livelihood options. There are a lot of reports that have looked at legal rights and access to resources, and it turns out that in most of the countries, especially developing countries, women do not have equal rights in owning farmlands, becoming farmers, and so on. Farming in general is dominated by men, not because women are not interested, but because there are systemic biases, implicit and explicit, in the way the legal rights and access to resources for land and other are set up. Okay. This also requires supporting gender dynamics, gender equality, and girls' education, enhancing local capacities by building on local, indigenous, and traditional knowledge with institutions at all levels, create a restored, diversified natural resource base, and ensure that populations have the capacities and means for a sustainable management of their natural resources. Okay. Finally, nutrition-sensitive, community-based disaster risk reduction and management is needed. That is a consideration that has to be accounted for in terms of specific measures as well. And I didn't include many points there, but every point we have discussed in terms of climate impact on food production, food availability, food trading, food safety, food security, and nutrition are going to be considered there. And I will pause this and add a few more points because somehow I missed adding those points there. So let me come back in a second. Okay, sorry about that. Again, to look at nutrition-sensitive, community-based disaster risk reduction management, you have to look at the system, the co-benefits, and the policy requirements as well. So just to read a few points from the book, patterns of human consumption over time have shown a steady shift in diet preference as income increases and socioeconomic shifts such as urbanization occur. In general, the per capita levels of cereal consumptions decline with increasing income. Okay, whereas that of meat and fish also increases. Consumption of high-income countries is growing far beyond the world average, while the growth in dynamic economies such as China, Brazil account for much of what is observed in East Asia and Latin American region. So the pressure on the food production system, the demands are going to just be demanding more of the resources, but more of the environmental degradation as well, unless we are very deliberate about nutrition-sensitive, community-based disaster risk reduction and management in the food security, availability, stability, nutrition, and so on. Okay, doing this in a sustainable way also means there are many co-benefits of mitigating against climate change and improving health, particularly non-communicable diseases at the same time. These co-benefits include shifting diets in rich countries to less red meat and dairy products, and redesigning communities to promote active transport and therefore physical activity, so get away from driving and bicycling, walking, public transportation, etc. Strategies to reduce the production, consumption of fats from animal origin could help to prevent greenhouse gas emissions while benefiting the health of adults in countries consuming high amounts of products from animal origin. Countries such as Sweden have included sustainability criteria in the revision of their national dietary guidelines. Okay, dietary guidelines have sustainability principles included. Further research is necessary to measure the health, environmental, and financial co-benefits of sustainable diets and sustainable food consumption. Just think about planetary health now being considered in this framework. Mechanisms in terms of policies, mechanisms that ensure policy coherence between food and nutrition security, development, adaptation, and mitigation objectives should be explored and implemented at all levels. It's necessary to improve collaborations and communications among stakeholders to develop coherent and coordinated nutrition-aware institutional and policy frameworks at local, national, and international levels to address the impacts of climate change on nutrition. So Paris Agreement right now, for example, focuses so much on reducing emissions via renewable energy, land use change, additional carbon sources, and so on. But nutrition, food security, food safety, food availability, food access, etc., can be made part of this overall sustainability of climate resilient, safe agriculture and food production. So that's the main point of this chapter. Rather long, but some good points are made, so we will stop this chapter here and come to additional points in the next chapter. Okay?